Join Town Pump's Pump It Up Rewards Plus program and never pay full price for fuel again.
Save 5 cents on every gallon every day at any Town Pump across Montana.
Plus, earn and redeem points on your favorite in-store items to get free stuff with our clubs.
Stop in and pick up a rewards card. Download the Pump It Up Rewards Plus app today.
Or visit townpump.com/rewards to register and start saving.
Town Pump. Right down the road. Pump it up. Oh, yeah.
Join DraftWorks' annual Crappy Halloween costume contest on October 31st at 5 p.m. Enjoy a free pint for rocking a killer costume and stick around for the 9 p.m. Best Dressed prize. Spooky fun, great drinks, and plenty of laughs guaranteed at DraftWorks.
Okay, so once upon a time, I was a resident of Washington.
As was I.
I've never, as were you. I've never heard of Buckley, Washington.
Oh, yeah.
I texted you the other day. I said, "What's up Tuesdays with Tootell on Tuesday?" Nope, not happening. I'm in Buckley, Washington. Where is Buckley, Washington?
Buckley is adjacent to Enumclaw.
Oh, what a place.
Yeah, Enumclaw is the last vestige of Western Washington before you head into the national forest and wider park of what becomes Mount Rainier. So it's kind of on the periphery, on the edge of the sprawling metropolis, but is in its own right a bit of a mountain town and a bit of a tree logging town. In fact, I slept the night on the grounds of the Buckley Logging Show, where they have, or competition, where they have like a permanent, it's essentially a fairgrounds, but much smaller, that is like an arena where they do logging Olympics every summer. And that's where I slept, in my truck. I did not ask permission and I was not asked to leave, so I think that's a win.
It's definitely a win. Enumclaw, Washington is like it's like the Lewiston, Idaho, and or what's the Montana town that's comparable to?
Almost like a Libby or a
Libby,
yeah, or a Eureka.
Libby, Eureka of Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that we have mutual friends, like actually several that are from there.
Yeah.
I was living in Ellensburg by the guy that lived across the hall from me. Actually, 3 guys that lived across the hall from me in our apartment. We're all from Enumclaw. I got to know Enumclaw super well. And then me and you were working at this little broadcasting company with people that had ties to and or were from Enumclaw. It's
right. I mean, one of my very good college friends has been the head varsity coach of the Enumclaw football team for 20 years. Mark Gunderson, shout out. Yeah. So out there just doing it.
It's so funny, man, because there's like all these different geographic changes and like the way that towns work. But you and I have always agreed on this. Like there's some stuff in Idaho that's so weird and different, but like Washington, other than like the west side of the mountains, it's like this endless string of small towns. It's just like Montana. The towns are just closer together. But they're either logging towns or agricultural towns, and they're all just jammed up and
out there. Yeah.
Instead of 100 miles apart, they're just 50 miles apart, but it's the same thing.
Same idea.
Same thing, right?
Yeah, a lot of that for sure. Well, and I mean, you got to think like the Northwest, and there's the Pacific Northwest, and there's the Intermountain Northwest, and they're certainly different in a lot of ways. Like when you introduce the ocean, you get a bunch of maritime influences,
no question,
in industry and in culture that we just don't have here. That said, the natural resources and the geography and topography of the place that we live, and when I say the place that we live, I'm talking about Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, to like Oregon, even to some extent, like all of that together. That's a tie that binds, and that's how you get a regional designation. And believe me, the Northwest is a region that should and has banded together and is completely different from every other region in the country, as each region is on its own. But We got our own
So
thing
good.
going on in the upper left.
There's no doubt. There's
Yeah.
absolutely no
Yo,
doubt.
Tara, what up, E?
What's going on? Man, those are some nice medals.
Yeah, man, these are hard to come by.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 of them.
Well, that's nothing like going to March Madness, though.
We did go to a national championship.
Okay, guys, whatever. Let's just get on the Montana party bus and head over to Press Box for lunch.
Yeah.
Nuanez now and Skyline Sports, covering Montana athletics and the Big Sky Conference better than anybody. The Montana Party Bus and the Press Box are also proud supporters of Montana athletes.
Hey, cheers to you guys, man. Cheers to Montana. Cheers to chasing more championships.
All right, let's talk some Big Sky Conference football.
Let's do that.
We're going to go back and forth like we always do.
Yep.
But here's one thing that I think has been so interesting, just being a, how do you say, a person that drives these conversations, or like an entity, not even just me, us, all of us that are talking on the mic and talking on the camera all the time. The Grizz have been captivating so far this year, for a variety of reasons. Both are credit that we give to them, and all of the good things, and also criticisms, etc. When you're 8-0, you're 8-0, and you're going to November 8-0, and that's what it is. And like, the University of Montana has a proud football history. It's only the 8th time they've ever been 8-0. And Bobby Houck's been the head coach of 3 of those teams. I lead with that to say that Montana State has been the one that's been driving the conversation in the Big Sky Conference for more often than not, probably the Skyline Sports era, certainly, and certainly the last couple of years during the Brent Vegan era. And Coach Houck's Grizz have had some high water marks, no question. And certainly the 2023 national championship run stands there as like the peak so far, at least the summit that they've reached. And it's been fascinating to watch just like the way that the pendulum has swung. But Vegan's consistency has been so unbelievable at Montana State. But I do think, though, like in terms of just like the way that the hype meter is going right now, and the fact that this collision course is all leading towards this collision in Missoula in a few weeks, that so much of what we've been talking about is Grizz, like sort of Grizz leaning, or just that, like, I guess what the point I'm making is that the Grizz seem to have captured the hype machine right now. And the Cats were that team last year. And that's what happens when you go undefeated. Like, that's what happens when there is no loss to talk about. You can say this, that, and the other thing in criticisms about the team, but guess what? There's no losses in the loss column. Whereas Montana State got 2 losses in the loss column before they got a win. My question for you, though, is this. Do you feel like Montana State has been lurking in the weeds because of this dynamic? But more importantly, they're always going to be more hyped than almost everybody else in the FCS. I'm just talking about in comparison to the Grizzlies.
Yeah.
But like, does that actually help Montana State? Because last year I felt like they had to deal with this whole monster that was these unbelievable seniors, most of them from Montana. Some of the great stories we've ever covered at Skyline Sports, and Tommy Blott, Brody Grebe, etc. And then they're doing it. They're making it happen. They're making it come to fruition. They're undefeated. It seems like now that pressure has shifted to the Grizz. We can get to the Grizz part in a minute, but do you think that's an advantage for the Cats?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they dealt with that pretty well last year. They did go to a national championship and dang near won the thing. So in that respect, if there was pressure, it obviously was not a hindrance and maybe even a positive. I do think you're right to suggest that more attention has been paid to the Grizzlies this year than Montana State. I also think to some extent more attention has been paid to the Grizzlies this year than the Grizzlies of the recent years.
Yeah, that's right.
And so it's not even about almost a comparison between Bozeman and Missoula, but Missoula compared to 24 and 23 and 22. I mean, even when Montana went to the national championship, that train didn't get rolling until November. I mean, it was dang near, the wagons falling apart in the early portion of that season, and all of the hype.
How much do you think this dynamic though is because the Grizz have actually been leaning into offense, also leaning into. I mean, I'm not going to say that Bobby Hauck is promoting and over exaggerating his team, but it is different than it has been in the past, right? Like they're letting stars be stars. They're letting these guys, do the touchdown dances, do the TikToks,
Hey, don't kid yourself. They're not letting them do the dances. They're doing it against the rules. They're dancing against the will of the head man.
This is the Sammy Kim proxy, right? When Bobby Hauck grabs the mic, when a couple weeks ago, when after the Idaho game, when they scored a bunch of touchdowns and they were all dancing on national TV, Drew Deck, who's one of the leaders of the team, he gets asked at the press conference, "What do you think of the touchdown dances?" And Bobby Hauck grabs the mic and he says, "Make no mistake, if guys get penalized for touchdown dances, they're not going to play." And Sammy Kim does this amazing TikTok where he's like,
nice montage.
Yeah, nice montage, but also, guess what? If Michael Wortham and Eli Gilman are doing TikTok dances and doing dances, they get a flag, you're still going to play them.
Yeah.
Because you want to win, because they're your best players.
No question. But yeah, I think that, Montana being 8-0, and again, I think at this level, that being the FCS and the Big Sky Conference, you got to do the eye test on these teams, right, as much or more than the record. I mean, it's one thing for the tuna to get up there and say you are what your record says you are. Yeah, in the NFL, that's true.
Right.
When you're playing other NFL teams every week.
30 teams in comparison to 130 teams.
Yeah, and 130 teams that aren't even on the same footing. I mean,
not even the same realm.
The closeness to the number one team in the nation at the FBS level and say the worst team in the Big 12 or the ACC is such a much smaller gap than North Dakota State and whoever the butt naked worst team in the FCS is. I mean, that team's not a high school team, the worst team in the FCS. Right, totally. So again, they're completely irrelevant. We don't even know who they are. They don't even make a list or a conversation. But the point is that there's still teams out there playing games, and you know what you are? 1-0 against those teams, getting another victory against those teams. So again, I do not make anything of. I shouldn't say that. I do make something of the records. The records, of course, matter, and the records are important. But if Montana played Montana State's schedule, I think there's a really good chance they'd be 6-2. And I think if the Bobcats played the Grizzlies schedule, I think there's a really good chance they'd be 8-0.
Sure.
And what I like about the Montana team, though, what I like about the Grizzlies this year is they are passing the eye test more often than not. And certainly not perfectly. They've had plenty of, what are you doing? This looks bad. This has to get fixed problems. And that's coaching, play calling, players, moments in game, like all of that stuff. But they've had way more, whoa. Look at them ball out. Look at them get after the quarterback. Look at them have explosives. And I think that we have seen more of that, the upside, the stuff that you press into and go, yeah, you're 8-0, and you look like an 8-0 football team. You look like a top 5 team in the country.
That's right.
As opposed to years past where, yeah, they've been ranked 9th in the nation, and you and I both knew they weren't a top 20 team, And so that is, I think, where a lot of the excitement comes from fans who are seeing, a product, a team, whatever, that at its best is really, really good. And it has an opportunity to be elite and is still growing. And we've talked about that on this podcast, in weeks past, but the improvement continues to be present. And I think this last week at Sacramento State was a game that was by no means perfect, but it was also a game where there was no governor on the football team. The gas pedal, for multiple reasons, was all the way to the floor, both directions. And that's not always the case for reasons that are, I think, mostly in-house and have to do with coaching and wanting to develop guys and teach tape and do different things like that. But Montana, when the training wheels get kicked off, is a really, really good football team. And when they just put their best out there, play in, play out to go as hard as they can and are motivated and ready to go, they are a very good football team. And I think that's a cause for a lot of excitement, a lot of chatter, a lot of eyeballs, and a lot of enthusiasm in Missoula, which I have not seen at this level in quite a while, including the level is much higher right now at this point in the season than it was in 2023 when they went to the Natty.
No question about that. But don't you think that all of that you just said helps the Cats in terms of the narrative within the state?
No. I mean, what do you mean? You think that they're winning football games because of this? No, they're winning.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I just think that the management of the pressure of the moment is one of the biggest factors that exists. And I think that the thing that makes Montana and Montana State football fans and everybody that loves college football around the state of Montana so lucky right now is that they have head coaches on each side that profoundly understand that one of the most important parts of their jobs are managing expectations, mitigating expectations, and living up to expectations. Like when people say, what happened with Bob Stitt? Because Sammy Kim's a contributor at Skyline Sports now. And he's a guy that's from Oklahoma. They got recruited to Montana. And we would never know it without Bob Stitt and Jason Seymour. Like that, we would never know who Sammy was. And God bless Jason Seymour for recruiting him from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. And, then last Saturday, he's sitting on my couch and we're watching North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and Montana State and Cal Poly. And God bless him. I love it. But Sammy has always been like, well, Stitt recruited really well. Why couldn't he figure it out? He couldn't figure it out because he didn't understand this dynamic right here that we're talking about, the management of expectations. And Bobby Houck has, 25 years and 15 total seasons of absolutely being the leader of and understanding the standard, the expectations, and how to mitigate and manage these expectations. And a lot of times in the media, we get annoyed by it. We get annoyed by him saying, yada, 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 this and that and the other thing. We're not giving you anything. Next game, next opponent. Everybody's great. Everybody's well coached, yada, yada, yada. Vegan is also really good at this, though, in terms of raising his team to the standard. But I do think that last year, Montana State was so good. They were so good, and they won so many games. But I do think that like the omnipresent pressure of this is the best Bobcat team ever, and they are going to win it all. It was something that loomed large for them, and they almost did it, and they should have done it, and they didn't do it. But either way, it was something they had to manage. And I'm not saying it crushed them because they didn't crush them. They went all the way to the almost top. I just wonder that if right now, like having these two notches at the beginning of the season actually helps Montana State because right now everybody's talking about either NDSU or like it was basically a 3.5 team race before this last weekend. But now after this last weekend, everybody that watched the TV said, okay, North Dakota State's winning the Natty. They're going to play Montana. Who the hell's Tarleton State? South Dakota State sucks. But Montana State's the only one that's over here. But I think Montana State's as good as these teams. I just think it helps them in the overall narrative.
The narrative doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is when you play. Here's what I will say to you by way of extending an olive branch. Narratives.
From the guy who helps craft them.
Yeah, I mean, they're fun, but they don't matter. They're not playing football games with a story.
Sure.
But when Montana and Montana State play in 3 weeks from now, Montana's going to be 11-0. And Montana State will be 8-2 going into the UC Davis game, which I expect that they'll win, but that's a real football game. So we'll see where they're at coming out of that. The point is the way this is shaping up and the increased hype and chatter and excitement around Montana, not compared to Montana State. I think what's there at Montana State's probably just as much as it's been. It's just there's more in Missoula now than there has been because of the nature, as we just talked about, of the way the Grizz are playing right now. And I think it helps both teams when they come to play each other, because I think Montana, after getting their asses kicked a year ago and being 2-4 against Montana State since the return of Bobby Hauck, need to show up with belief and swagger in Missoula, Montana. And I know that they've won at home and all that kind of stuff, but that's that's a bad boy on the other side of the mountain, regardless of whatever their record might be, whether it's 2 losses or 3 losses in Bozeman. It's a defending national champion runner-up and a team that just has dominated Montana over the last, 6-8 years, okay, overall. So you need to be a football team that has none of that on your shoulders, that's just rolling in expecting to blow out Montana State. And the Bobcats, who have been pretty much the heavy favorites and dominated in that matchup, certainly at home and overall, their winning percentage is, again, very good over the last 6-8 years. I think to feel nothing like overlooked, but maybe an underdog coming into that football game, that's mostly uncharted territory, for them in a like opponent type of football game. And I think Coach Vigen will do probably a very good job of accentuating that point coming into Missoula to play that football game. And I think that could make for a beauty of a Cat Grizz game this season, which is, of course, what I'm hoping for.
We need it. We need it so bad.
Oh man, it's just been terrible.
The lead up and the culmination of it all has been unbelievable. And then to see 29-10 where the Cats are floundering around, or 48-14 where the Grizzlies get their ass beat, or it's back and forth, 54-21 or whatever, when Patrick O'Connell and Robbie Hauck pushed each other in the middle of Bobcat Stadium, 37-7 when the Grizz are running rampant. Or last year the Grizz played well and they still got their asses kicked in Bozeman.
Well, we'll see where we're at when we get there. But as of today, Halloween, right? The narrative does not matter. It's bluster, and it's, these two teams are on their own courses. They're going to get there how they get there. And then when we get to the game, we'll.
Jewelry Design Center. We want to be your jeweler for life.
Well, there we are. Our first subject of at least 13 that I sent Ryan. So this is going to be a 4.5-hour podcast. The Grizz Fan Podcast has nothing on us. It is proudly presented by Jewelry Design Center. Jewelry Design Center, located across from the Montana Club on Brook Street in Missoula. Jewelry Design Center wants to be your jeweler for life. How about Michael Wortham? I was going to ask you where he ranks in terms of the hierarchy of Grizz transfer history, but that's not even it. There's just so many other questions I have about Michael Wortham. First of all, the fact that he just unlocked everything for Montana, and he's got Bobby Hauck letting Brent Pease just dip in his bag all day long. Hauck's not even caring about the offense, lets us roll. But then the fact that Michael Wortham's family is from like 5 blocks away from Sacramento State, like the broadcasters keep saying he's from right down the road, and then he goes nuts like that and has 240 yards of offense and 3 touchdowns, and there's just so many things that go into it. So I guess I'll start with this. Is there any other players you've ever been entertained by watching the Grizz than Michael Wortham? Because he is an unbelievable player to watch right now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought just from a sheer electric, like you just never knew when it was going to go to the house. Trayvon Van was a fun player to watch for me.
Good one. He's smooth.
And quick and multiple, like he could catch the ball out of the backfield too. I mean, he's a running back first for sure. But Michael Wortham is far more versatile on the field than Trayvon was. And
unstoppable, right?
And yeah, and then you know, Mark Mariani, I mean, is
for sure
was you had to be there. He's the at bat you have to watch, right? He's Shohei Ohtani, he's Barry Bonds. Like you have to see it.
The thing that sets Wortham so apart though, like Mariani, he can be on the outside and he can be running a go route. He stacks you, he gets past you, he's got straight line speed. Like, I mean, Mark's my guy. I always love Mark, and he's one of the greatest ever. But I can't remember any player that's ever played not only for the Grizz, but in the Big Sky Conference, where you bring him in motion across the formation, and then you have him run like a little stutter step, fake screen, and then he jukes you inside, runs the inside slant, boom, you hit him, and he goes 64 yards. I mean, that first touchdown he scored against Sac State, you're like, are you kidding me, bro? Like, dude, 6 Sac State defenders had the angle on him, and he beat every single one of them to the end zone. That's
the hezzy he put on that guy who just dove at a ghost and landed straight in the dust, and you just go,
the dude is dead in the grass, man. Like,
I mean, an absolute launch got you. Didn't touch it. Didn't like knock the wind out of yourself. You landed on the ground.
You're like written in chalk on the field.
And the thing is when you watch it, it doesn't even. It was almost a subtle type of move. Like it's just a little jab step. And I think you can see it with the great ones. And I'm putting Michael Wortham in the category of greatness at this level, you know, at the Big Sky and FCS level, where the move they're making now, they already know they're beating the guy that's right in front of them. They're setting up guy number 2 with the way they're running now to beat them next as they're beating guy 1. And it's the sort of thing where as Wortham's going outside and the defender's coming at him, the defender's like, he's probably going to cut back inside. And Wortham knows instinctively, he thinks I'm going to cut back inside. So I'm going to make him think that I'm going outside. And then the guy goes, oh, he's going to go outside. And then he goes inside anyways. And then just, it's the, I thought, you thought that I thought, and then you do the thing, you know? And it is it's a gift is what it is. You know, Michael Wortham's measurables are outstanding.
He's fast. Yeah.
But he's not, you know, he's not a 4.2 guy. No,
right.
You know, he's fast, but he's not a sprinter. He's quick, but he's not, you know, Barry Sanders. Totally. But he's got a gift, man.
Yes.
He's got
yes.
The only guy that I would compare him to, and it's a comparison not in style, but I think it's valid, and it's Cooper Kupp.
Dude.
It's Cooper Kupp, man.
It's the spatial awareness, man.
Yes.
The most underrated part of athleticism. I think the 2 most underrated parts of athleticism are physical endurance. Like, can you just outlast your opponent? Especially when you're talking about non-endurance sports. You're talking about like aerobic instead of anaerobic sports. If you have crazy physical endurance, that that sets you apart because you don't have to get tired, so you can
Yes.
practice it way more. And it's why the Indian basketball teams in Montana kill everybody else, because they have the physical endurance and the quick twitch. Regardless, the spatial awareness part is the part that is to be able to see it, like you were saying, to see it before you see it. Like, it doesn't matter if Cooper Kupp isn't that fast.
Exactly.
He's faster than you because he stacks you up and then he breaks you off all day long, and that's Wortham. It's a really good comparison, man.
And forever I thought that Cooper Kupp was just the smartest guy ever just to play football from a football standpoint, where he just knew every defense and knew where all the guys were going to go, and he just knew that you were going to go left, so I'm just going to go right, and then I'll just be open. And I thought it was the preparation and the tape watching, and I wasn't wrong about that. That is all true. But there is also this, what I can only refer to kind of as a gift of, in the moment, he just knows. He can ESP
exactly
like he's got this sense, oh, the defender is going to do this. And it's not, oh, well, I watched the tape and I know when he steps like this that he's going to do this. It is, you're running the route and you see it and you feel it, and now I'm going to sit this down and I'm wide open. And so I am out here running a 4.57 with the greatest athletes on earth, and I'm winning the Triple Crown and the Super Bowl MVP. Because you have a thing that nobody else has. And, that it's the same thing. And certain guys have that connection, right? Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes. Why doesn't anybody cover Travis Kelce? Believe me, they're trying.
Exactly.
They're not running a play. They're out there running, and they are on the same level, and they've got it. So it's just, you can't defend it.
Yeah, it's so funny, right? Because, like, who's the greatest receiver of all time? Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
Like, who are some of the greatest tight ends of all time? Like Rob Gronkowski, Tony Gonzalez, like Travis Kelce. Cooper Kupp is like, in terms of utmost prolific nature, like, none of these guys are running 4.4s. They're not even running 4.5s.
Totally.
High 4.6s. But they're breaking you off. Like, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
Thanks so much for listening to the Big Sky Breakdown podcast series and for tuning into our Skyline Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to both the podcast and all your various podcast hosted networks and to the YouTube channel as well. Thanks to our great partners, including Ryan Miller & Coburn Law. Ryan Miller & Coburn are ace attorneys, each with different expertise. Paul Ryan, the master when it comes to DUIs. Angie Miller, excellent in medical malpractice. Abigail Coburn, federal drug charges. She's the one you want defending you. They can help in any and all sorts of criminal defense cases. They have a live answering service that's available 24 hours a day, 406-542-2233. You can also visit rmcattorneys.com. Ryan and Miller and Coburn, your Montana attorneys. Let's hear from RMC right now. How about just your connections to Missoula? What's kept you here for, most of your life, right?
Yeah, no, I love Missoula. I went to grade school, middle school, and high school here, and ultimately graduated from the University of Montana. My family's here, so many of my friends, people that I see. It's such a great feeling. I think people that know Missoula, whether you grew up here or whether you've moved here, they understand this is such a magical place. The people are so friendly. It's a safe place. I got to raise my daughter here, and just see the development of Missoula and its growth, which is great. But it's still small town to me. And I know, the places that I go, if I want to go get taco treat, I've been getting taco treat for probably 40 years, and that's where I want to go. But just so many friendly faces and people probably is what really keeps me here.
Big Sky Breakdown, SkylineSportsMT.com. All right, back to Montana State. They have been good to great on defense for, basically since Mike Kramer turned the corner 23 years ago. that's the thing that's been like one of the two things that have been the trademarks of the Bobcat football program have been stingy defense, great offensive line play. Certainly there's been ebbs and flows in terms of like the rankings of all of the last quarter century, but that's where they've been at. But I've covered a lot of Bobcat football teams. And this Bobcat defense is not necessarily the most talented I've seen. They don't have a Trey Anderson. They don't have a Daniel Hardy. They don't have a Ty Okada. Like all those guys are getting run in the league right now. But they're so steady. And I feel like that's why Brent Vegan was so mad after the game on Saturday. The Cats won by 17 points on the road against a pretty good team, but they gave up 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns, and he is salty. And he was talking about it. And he talked about it all day on Monday too. So how do you weigh this? Because they are certainly talented, but this team this Bobcat defense seems so steady. Like, how much do you credit just like their performance so far to this year to the steadiness? And also, do you feel like the fact they had a lapse in the fourth quarter is actually good for them since they still came out with a 3-score win? Because that's something they can coach to. Can that inspire this team?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the Cal Poly game was sort of strange. I mean, it was 3-0 midway in the second quarter, and it felt like neither offense could really get anything going. And you're like, well, where's this run game? Where's the, they gave, what did they had a 14-play drive and then turned it over on downs at one point. Montana State did. It was very strange.
Like it was 3-0 at the end of the first quarter, but then they only gave up 4 first downs in the first 3 quarters. And then they're up 27-3. But then the defense drops the ball and they let it get to a 10-point game. It was like this dichotomy. And I feel like that was why Vegan was so mad, because it was like early defense is playing shutdown. They can't score. But then in the second and third quarter, offense comes alive, but they can't throw the knockout punch. So it's just like this uneven game. And I feel like that's why Vegan was so mad.
Yeah, I think, I think a lot of times what we perceive as elite defenses is elite individual players who play defense. And you could have a really good defense, but when it's anchored by Okada, Anderson, whoever you want to throw in there, there's flash plays and you go, oh, this team slaps. Now, I'd still grant you that the front seven taken as a unit probably isn't at the level that the front seven the last 4 or 5 years has been at Montana State. But of course, the front seven the last 4 or 5 years at Montana State has been about the best in the country. So, I mean, it's a high bar.
I think their front still is as good as it gets.
And
they got four seniors.
And that's what I'm saying. They're not as good as the past Cat teams. They're still elite.
Well, that's right.
They're still
well, and the
outstanding.
Sad truth is that nobody is as good as they've been the last 5 years.
Right. So that's
why are we hyping the Grizz up so much? Because they're better than they've been in the last 5 years, and they're the only ones amongst the Blue Bloods that are.
But this is again why I think the comparison. I mean, we will always compare Montana and Montana State, but I think a lot of times what fans do as much as anything is compare their current team to their past teams.
That's right. That's exactly, dude. It's so true.
Yeah.
Like last year's Montana State team is arguably, if not definitively, the greatest team in their school's history. It's just so sad that they lost.
They didn't finish
North Dakota State.
Yeah.
That should be considered the greatest team, not only in school history, but one of the greatest teams in Big Sky Conference history.
No question. Well, they are.
And they are still.
But you have to say one of the best instead of definitively
they just
the best.
They just don't get the feather, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but here's what I think about Coach Vegan's salt when it comes to the last couple of touchdowns and a little bit more. We're talking about this a little bit, just a little more demonstrative on the sideline than in years past.
Indeed.
So part of that, I think, is KYP, right? Know your personnel. And I think maybe, and I this is pure speculation on my part, but I think maybe he feels like this is a group that can use a little bit more fire to get them going than other teams who, Mike Tomlin had just he's got all the greatest lines, right? But I think one of his players got a 15-yard personal foul, and they asked him about it. He said, "I'd rather use the bridle than the whip," which is to say he'd rather have to pull his guys back than kick him in the ass, to get him going. And I'm not saying that this team needs that, but maybe there are some guys in some moments where that's true. The other thing is, and I'll pull from Coach Saban on this one, where his deal was when we played teams that I knew or that we knew we were going to beat is when I was the absolute hardest on my team. When I would crush them in the media, I would crush them at practice because we knew we were going to have a win and they needed to stay humble. And then he goes, when we played the great teams is when I came in and lifted everybody up. We love these guys. They're so good. They were so excited about. And I think having a sense of the moment. Hey, we knew we were going to beat Cal Poly. It was 27-3 in the fourth quarter, whatever it was, down the stretch ultimately. Like the game was well in hand. You got an opportunity now, get on them. Get on them, right? And give them the business and let them know that they're not as good as they think they are just because they've won 6 straight or whatever it is, and keep on them because you got a Davis and you got a Grizzly coming up around that bend. And so this is the time to get on them, and then you're going to have plenty of time to to encourage and be the carrot, not the stick, when it comes time, down the road.
No, absolutely, man, and it's so true, and that's why I appreciate Vegan so much, though, because he does, like he goes after these things, and he does challenge his team, and he talks about, like, in the post game, he was like, he literally in his opening statement led with 3-score win on the road, good, but, and then 3 minutes of here, and he said,
not good enough, not good enough, not good enough.
When our team has allowed 0 first downs in the first quarter and we're only up 3-0, not good enough. When our team figures it out on offense and we're up 27-3 and we don't levy the knockout punch, not good enough. Like, these are the things we have to be better at.
Yeah.
And then he talked about it again on Monday. I mean, shoot, Tom Stuber just wrote a story that I posted on Skyline Sports right now, literally about this. Like, Vegan was so deliberate about it, saying today at points we were methodical, but we were also messy. And I think it's a great coaching tactic to be so open like that.
And I also think, just consider, most everybody listening to this is a fan of some sort, right? So we, both fans and in the media, listen to coaches talk in press conferences as sort of a outline and discussion points and firsthand accounts of things about their team. And we take it as information delivered. But I want you to imagine that you're a player on the team. Is he up there upset and venting because he's upset and wants to vent? No. He's up there sending a message to his team. Now, could he send that message at the Monday meeting when he's with his team and tell them, hey, when we've only given up 4 first downs in the first 2 quarters and we've only got 3 points, that's not good enough. Could he say that to his team? Just to them? Absolutely. And he probably did. So why did he say it to the media? Why did he say it in public? Because he wants them to feel the weight of that. He wants this to be public, not to embarrass them.
No.
But to I want everyone else to know what I know and what you need to know, so that you don't just hear it from me, but you sense it from everybody else, because they all now are in on where we're at. And that adds, call it pressure, but motivation to what you're doing. And that's how you use the media and social media and podcasts and radio, whatever it might be, as a coach, to deliver a message to your team. And that's why you do it. It's not because you can't tell them when you're at your meeting with your team at practice. Yes,
Right.
you can, and you do. But they're watching and listening to what you say, right?
Exactly.
They're on YouTube, they're on Skyline Sports, listening to the coach talk
No question.
about them, and knowing that this is public and this is being thousands of people are listening and watching to this thing. So, I think that's why you see this side of vegan in those moments, and I think that it's deliberate, and not inauthentic, but not by accident.
No question. And it's also even more than just challenge using this as a vehicle as a challenge or whatever. There's also just the part that the thing that makes football in the state of Montana special and not necessarily unique but rare at the FCS level is that the guys that are playing for something much more than themselves. They're playing for an institution, they're playing for a program, they're playing for a head coach, they're playing for an athletic department, they're playing for a town, they're playing for a state, they're playing for the lineage, they're playing for the history that came before them, all those things. And it's a way to also re-emphasize that. Like this is about something bigger than you.
Bigger than you. Yeah, that's so true.
And that's where
Yeah.
vegan is so
Yeah.
good, involving everybody. Like this is about us. And like that's how you get this player run program is when you have guys that are thinking, I can't let the guy before me down. It's not just the guy that was my senior when I was a freshman. It's the guy that played in 1976 for Sonny Holland, or the guy that played in 1984 for Mike Kramer when he's the D-line coach and Dave Arnold when he's the head coach, right? And that's also something that the Grizz do super well internally. They just don't share it as well externally.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're I don't know, they're starting to come around. All right.
Shine Beer Sanctuary is leading the charge when it comes to promoting beer culture in Montana. Located at the corner of Church and Main and downtown Bozeman, the locally owned and operated tap house and bottle shop has the best beer selection in the Treasure State. The bar has 32 rotating beers on tap with everything from Duvel to local ciders, gluten-free beers, and non-alcoholic options. The bottle shop has more than 400 beer offerings from all over the world, and Shine offers Cicerone-trained beer guides. Come enjoy beer heaven at Shine Beer Sanctuary in Bozeman.
All right, let's get through our list. Big Sky Breakdown, Skyline Sports, MT.com. Okay, so this will be a good laugh for us. I'm going to skip a lot of these things that I put on the outline.
I think that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. Here we are. Thanks to Town Pump for their continued support of everything we got going on. This will just give us a laugh. So think about this earlier this week. Dr. Luke Wood, Sacramento State. I think, bless his heart, I think he has great intentions because he wants the best for Sac State. I also think he's completely misfounded and misguided, and I think that he needs some provosts to reel him in and say, "Hey, buddy, let's
doing that
act here. Let's not light the world and the internet on fire, and let's try to figure out a way to. If you want to have this plan, let's have this plan." But I was laughing thinking about if Dr. Luke Wood was the president at a school in which several of the coaches that we have covered over the years was the head coach. Number one, Jeff Choate. Number two, Bobby Houck. Number three, Mike Kramer. All three of them incredibly fiery individuals that take no prisoners at any time.
Yeah.
And seem like they actually want to fight often, let alone when somebody levies fighting words. Give me the scenarios. Like, start with Choate. If Dr. Luke Wood is the president at a school that Jeff Choate is the football coach at, what's happening?
Well, one or both of Jeff Choate's eyes would have popped out of his socket. Like it already gets like this kind of when he's like just like right on the edge and he's trying to hold it in, and I think we just have a genuine problem.
He's immediately storming to the office, right? Like he Montana Pandas. Next morning, he's kicking down the door, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like the difference to me between maybe a Jeff Choate reaction and a Bobby Houck reaction in this scenario would be Jeff Choate, the door's off the hinge and it's just splintered. Whereas Bobby doesn't say a word. He just walks in the office, gives it the stare.
What are you doing?
No, just nothing. Like silence. And let him talk for as long as he talks until he realizes this is bad, and then turns around and walks out. I was watching College Game Day Saturday, as I often do, and last Saturday, I don't know if you saw, was in Nashville. Vanderbilt hosting Missouri. Vanderbilt was 10 or even like 8 in the nation last week playing this Missouri team.
Really good.
Phenomenal. Oh, by the way, I cannot wait to just rake you over the coals about your college football take the last couple of years. So I'll come back to that at another time.
Yeah, it's
but
around for you for sure.
Yeah. But Vandy has, hosting College Game Day. And I think the week before when they played LSU, their quarterback, whose name escapes me, so forgive me for that, but this kid is a Heisman. No, the Vanderbilt quarterback.
Oh, Diego Pavia.
Yeah, Pavia, who's so sweet and a Heisman candidate and all of that. On the field pregame was practicing the kneel down, practicing victory formation for LSU to see this is what we're working on over here in pregame. And Saban said, I really like Pavia. I think he's a great player. If I was the coach, that would have been a catastrophic moment for our player-coach relationship. If I had seen him doing that. He said, at no point, ever, for no reason, do you give the other team any more reason to want to beat you than what they already have. You do not do it. And I think that it would have been a catastrophic president-coach relationship with any one of the three that you named if they were at Sacramento State last week and that had happened.
I just couldn't stop belly laughing, thinking about that happening and the reaction of those guys. And then I couldn't stop laughing either, thinking about like those guys doing the Brendan Marion stunt where he's blaming the refs on everything and he's getting fined. I mean, come on, man. Get fined by the Big Sky, et cetera, et cetera.
Have you ever heard? I imagine that it's happened, but I don't know that I have any recollection of a coach being fined by the conference in the Big Sky for comments in general and comments about reffing.
Doug Fullerton
until now
suspended a coach once, but that was because of a direct
incident on the field.
A direct. These refs in this game at this moment at this time screwed us over. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Suspended for a quarter, but like first, this whole situation with Brendan Marion was totally unprecedented. Like, look, not to say we missed this call or the refs screwed us in this game or whatever. To say, as a whole, 9 games into the season, we are more penalized than anybody else in the Big Sky Conference, even though 4 of those games that we played were not with Big Sky Conference refs, but that the Big Sky is holding a vendetta against us because of the things that our president said. Like, this is wild. It's a wild take, man. It's a wild take for him to go down.
Well, we got a lot of wild takes out there. So, I don't know if that even makes it on the register for me, but yeah, I mean, it is. If I was Tom Wistrcill, though, you can't have that. Yeah. But here's the thing: in a world where we see $50,000 and $100,000 and $500,000 fines regularly for stuff, you go $10,000. This is as punitive a fine in relation to earning as I can. I mean, it's
a lot of money, man.
This is fining Luka Doncic $38 million.
Well, you have to wonder that part, right? Because
it's incredible how much money
Dr. Luke Wood gave Brandon Marion this like arbitrary, unconfirmed contract that has a $960,000 a year base and like with bonuses $1 million a year.
Yeah.
but like there's been no confirmation of if that's actually real, because nothing at Sacramento State is real.
Well, and I am saying that,
but the your point is well taken.
Yeah.
For a Big Sky coach to get fined $10,000, like the normal average middle of the road Big Sky Conference coach, they get paid a lot more than us normal people or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's still like you're talking like at the minimum 5 to 8% of their salary. Like that's a lot of money, man. Like Bruce Barnum gets fined $10,000. Like he made his base salary is like $137,000, whatever it is. Like it's a lot of money, man. Like and for the league to do that, like pretty much without any hesitation.
Yeah,
it's a big
they came down on him. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Okay, last thing. Both the Grizz and the Cats now are to the portion of their schedule where, the coaches always tell you the games that they remember are played in November. It's big man month, yada, yada, yada. The big man games for the Cats come starting in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
When UC Davis comes to town, then they come to Montana. And for the Grizz, it starts in 3 weeks when the Cats come to Missoula.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of put in perspective the navigation of these next? It's just like these weird muddy waters, right? Like you're two of the 4 best teams in the country. You're playing these teams you're supposed to beat 1,000,000-0, but you actually have to do it. And the fact that both of them are on the road this week. The Grizz have another road game coming up in 2 weeks. They got road home games against whatever supposedly overmatched opponents. It is though still like now the navigation portion where like you can't slip up. So what do you think of just like the scenarios they have ahead of them right now?
Yeah, you go do what you're supposed to do. That's what. And you do it in a way that is the way that you expect to do it and desire to do it in the big boy games, whether it's UC Davis or whether it's the rivalry game. In moments in games like this, there's NFL, right? You got 17 regular season games. You lose a couple games. Everybody's going to lose a couple games. It's no big deal. But how you play, even in games that you win, matters. And why it matters is because what you repeat and what you execute and the way that you do it is the way you're going to do it when the pressure's on and when it's a big time. Like again, everything always comes back to golf. This Colter, but you can rip a drive down the middle if you're a great golfer 700 times in a row, but when you're on 18 and you're up 1 to win a tournament, can you do it then? And the only way you can do it then is because you have done it so many times that this is what you do now. And I think the key for these teams in these games is to pay attention to the details, execute the small things, execute the big things, but get into the pattern of who you are and what you want to do and who you want to be. And the byproduct of that should be pretty dominating wins the next 2 weeks for Montana State and the next 3 weeks for Montana. But I, for one, in those games, let's just limit it to the next 2 weeks because it's the same for both these teams. I will not be looking at the score. I will not be looking at who wins. I won't be looking at stats particularly. I will be watching the games, and they will be telling me what they look like and if they're ready to play and how they're ready to play and how they're doing it. And if there's dumb mistakes and dumb penalties and, energy, business decisions being made. Right. Are you executing the way that you need to be who you are?
That's the whole thing.
That's right.
Like,
thanks so much for listening to our Big Sky Breakdown podcast series and for tuning into our Skyline Sports YouTube channel. If you have not, please rate, review, and subscribe. Particularly subscribe. Click on the subscribe button. That helps us out a ton. Thanks to our great partners who help make all of this content possible, including Ty Hobbs at Keller Williams Real Estate. Ty's a great friend of mine, guy I lift weights with in the mornings and a guy I golf with as much as I can, but he's also an ace realtor. I did not choose him as my realtor because he's my friend, although that was a big perk. He is excellent when it comes to everything from efficiency to negotiation to no frills, no BS. He got our house on the market and got it sold in less than 24 hours, more like 4 hours. It was an impressive turnaround. He got us exactly the contract that we wanted. We needed to stay in our house for a couple months because we had a new build coming up. He negotiated that flawlessly. The negotiation part is the number one reason why we chose Ty, but he also has a great acumen when it comes to construction, building, remodels. We had a flood in our house that I needed help with repairing. Boom. He helped me out. Awesome service, awesome job. And if you're in the market for a realtor, Ty Hobbs is your guy. Let's hear more about the current real estate market from the man himself. So, two-part question. First of all, do you think that land in town is harder to come by?
It's certainly getting that way,
right?
For sure.
A lot of people, when they think, oh, I want to buy some land, they're thinking, okay, I'm going to buy it out in the Bitterroot or out towards Frenchtown way. In actual Missoula is tougher and tougher to find land, but you got a piece of land for sale right now.
Yeah, I got a great lot. Actually, it's one of the biggest lots in the Range Club right now. It's just shy of a half acre, right on number 15. So it's right on the golf course. It's a great lot. It's big. You can build any sort of custom home you want right there and be right on the golf course. Have great views of the mountains and kind of live that club life, so to speak.
So if people want to find out about that and other listings that you have, how do they find them?
Best way is just get a hold of me by phone, 406-544-9794.
You're expected to win these games. How do you look as a football team?
That's right.
Like the things that both these teams have been playing great for months now.
Yep.
But are you leveling up? Are you mitigating and or eliminating the weaknesses? Because here's the thing, man. Like, we're experts. We know a lot about football. Yada, yada, yada. The people internally that are controlling these situations, they absolutely know. Like, regardless if they're defiant to us about what we think as their weaknesses, they know those are the weaknesses of their football teams. They know it. If we can see it, we're watching film for like what? 4 hours a week, 6 hours. I mean, these guys are watching film for 25 hours a week. They know. They know. So are you mitigating and or eliminating your weaknesses? Are you maximizing and sharpening your strengths? That's exactly right.
Yeah. And I guess the point to all of this is, of course, you have an opponent to play and you're going to game plan for them and you're going to put together a install and a script and all of that. But it becomes about you at this point, I think, if you're Montana State. For Weber State, it's about the Grizzlies.
Isn't that so true?
But for the Grizzlies, it's about the Grizzlies.
That's right.
Go be who you are, do the things that you do, and walk away from Ogden with a convincing victory. And maybe it's crap weather, maybe it's ugly out, maybe you win by 17.
Sure.
Fine, as long as you do what you're supposed to do. Or maybe you go out there and you win by 30, and it's still a garbage performance.
Sure.
Right? And so again, the scores, they could be, but are not necessarily going to be indicative of how the game was played. When Montana plays Montana State, the score will tell you the story.
That's right.
You don't need to look. I mean, you want to see what happens, but you will know what happened based on the final. You may not know what happened based on the box scores of these games the next couple of weeks for the Grizzlies and the Cavs.
It's so true, right? Like, if you're the Grizz, like, are you able to play man-to-man coverage on the outside against Weber State and still bring pressure and still be able to get home? Like, last year, Weber diced Montana to death. Totally subpar, not even impressive Weber team that, Northern Colorado won one game in 2 years. It was against Weber the weekend after they went to Missoula and won. Like, what a telling thing about what the Montana Grizzlies were last year.
Yeah.
So, but like Mickey Mantle said in that post, I mean, last year's Weaver State press conference with Mickey Mantle and Ricky Santos, their quarterback, was one of the most stunning press conferences I ever sat in. So I said, Coach, what'd you see in Montana's defense you could exploit? He said, nothing. They play man. Chuck it. We knew that Justin Sharp was better than their guy. And I told Santos, get the snap and throw it to him and let's go. And like I asked Santos, how was your reads? He goes, I didn't have any. There was no reads. Like, get it and get it out, and that's it. So, like, it's as simple as that. Be better right there. Right. And of course, this team is significantly better.
Yeah.
Way better. But like Montana, the way they operate on defense, they're always going to give up yards. They're always going to give up gas plays. It just is what it is. Like, you could have the greatest defense ever. You're still going to give up gas plays because if you play man coverage all day long and you bring 6 guys, you're going to give up big plays. But how do you mitigate it? How do you like make it avalanche? Like, they gave up a shit ton of big plays last week. They also had 6 sacks and 12 tackles for loss.
Yeah,
and they ran roughshod over Saxon.
Well,
that's what you're talking about when it comes to the eye test.
And Bobby, even and this is a great example of the way a coach and a staff decide to go after a team. The strength of Sacramento State is actually their run game. And Bobby Houck said, we didn't believe they could beat us throwing the football.
That's right.
And that was true. They were really good throwing the football because
right.
Montana said, you are not running the football.
Yep.
But even if you're good throwing it, you're not going to be good enough. So come get it.
It's an important part to understand because, like, I think sometimes people think when Bobby says yards are empty calories.
Right.
But, like,
so what he's talking about, 325 yards throwing. Fine. So what?
Like, they gave him a couple big plays.
Lost by
whatever.
Lost by 3 scores.
Right. So what did we decide to do to you? He said the same thing after the Idaho game. He said, Joshua Wood is great. Joshua Wood's awesome. He extends plays, he runs around. We knew when we were in control of the game that he would not beat us because all they do is play backyard football. And if we got a couple score lead, we would not lose. And like it's a great credit to him as a coach to be able to lean into like, hey, all this stuff is exterior. All gas, no brakes on offense. Screw with them as much as you possibly can on defense and just stay ahead of it. We're going to win.
Yeah. I think that's true. Now, this is a little off topic, but it does dovetail on this whole thing. Let's say you're an awful NFL football team with some talented players that do absolutely nothing for you. So you decide to go get a 41-year-old quarterback from a divisional opponent, and he comes in and has no idea what the playbook is, doesn't know a single scheme, doesn't know a single play because he's been there for 2 days. And this is an NFL playbook with a offensive savant. What do you do? Do you make a read? Do you make a read? No. Where's number 1? And to a lesser extent, if I have to, where's number 5?
That's right.
And you throw the football 24 times in a football game to Jamar Chase.
That's
and
right.
you don't worry about how awful your worst offensive line in football is. You go, one stop, there he is, ka-clink, 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 to the tune of, 8 million yards. Jamar Chase with Joe Flacco is on pace for over a 17-game season for 310 targets. Okay, so I bring that up to say that this goes back to your comment about last year's press conference. There was no reads. We throw it over the top in man coverage every time. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. You got Eli Gilman. You got Michael Wortham. You have the emergence of Brooks Davis. Deliver their ball.
That's right.
Go score. That's it.
And they got.
I mean, and it's not. It is more complicated than that. But the complication is just how do we get them the ball?
Yeah.
Don't overcomplicate it. Oh, I don't know. It's 2nd and 9. It's not a good running down. We shouldn't give Eli Gilman the ball here. No, just give it to him. Just give him the football.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, they got a mechanism working on the Grizz offense right now too, where it's this and then that, this and then that. Like, take away Gilman, that's fine. We got rid of them.
Right.
And Ayat's the whole trigger to all of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cash One Pawn, Missoula's #1 pawn shop.
You want money? We got money. You need money? We got money. We're cash.
Do yourself a favor and make Cash One Pawn part of your online shopping habits. Cash One Pawn has an awesome online inventory, everything from firearms to power tools to speaker equipment to jewelry. Visit Cash One Pawn today.
Cash One Pawn.
8720 Roller Coaster Road, CashOnePawn.com.
There's always a party in Montana, whether you're going to a wedding, a football game, a concert. Montana Party Bus can get you there safe and will take you anywhere in Montana. You can relax with friends in style, luxury, and safety. Western Montana based for local and regional travel within Montana borders. Montana Party Bus is great for both large and small groups with a capacity of up to 30 guests. If you want to elevate your event, call them anytime, 406-200-8096. You can also visit mtpartybus.com. Travel anywhere in Montana in style with the Montana Party Bus.
So for you, that's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause with the Cats going to Greeley. Northern Colorado has never been good. They've won 35 games since they joined the Division I ranks. That's crazy. They've been D1 for almost 20 years.
Ed Lamb's working a little bit.
Yeah, guess what? Ed Lamb's one of the best coaches in the Western United States.
Yeah.
Straight up, point blank, period. And he's committed to it. Like, if they don't get screwed on an instant replay at Colorado State and they don't have a replay go there, no, I don't think they got screwed at South Dakota. I thought that was the right call. I rewatched both these. They should have beat Colorado State. They scored a touchdown and got called back. That's a screw job. Whatever. South Dakota State, it was the right call. Either way, or South Dakota, excuse me. Right call. Either way, that's 2 more wins. But either way, you still split it. They have 3 to 4. They have 3 wins. Could have 4. That's 4 times as many wins as they've had the last 2 years.
Yeah, right.
And Ed Lamb has done a great job. Like, I think Carver Cheeks is one of the best receivers in the entire FCS. Eric Gibson's an LSU transfer. He's elite. He's thrown for 300 yards 3 times in 4 Big Sky Conference games. I'm not saying that Northern Colorado is going to beat Montana State. Far from it. All I'm saying is that it's a bigger buzzsaw than the Grizz are walking into. I think there's no chance after Weaver came to Missoula and beat Bobby Houck that he's going to go down there and lose to Mickey Mantle, especially with this team he has. I don't think Montana State has any chance of losing either. It's just going to be a much harder fight in Greeley, Colorado.
Well, and I think one thing, and maybe we talk about this next week, but the next 3 games taken as 3 games prior to the Cat Grizz game are just objectively much harder taken as a whole for Montana State than they are for the Grizzlies. And does that matter? I don't know. I guess we'll see, but it is something to analyze. But yeah, this is again, we're not comparing Northern Colorado to anything other than Northern Colorado in the past. So because it's not a walkover, they're up and coming and pretty good, and you got to pay attention to them, and you do. And that's sort of new, and you don't think about that when you think about Greeley. So because that's new, it's sort of an eyebrow raise. That said, if you're the Montana State Bobcats and you have aspirations of a national championship, which they certainly do, you do not go on the road to Northern Colorado, even now, even with Ed Lamb, and have it be, honestly, even all that close. You go in and you dominate.
No doubt. Ryan Tootell here on the Big Sky Breakdown. Thanks for doing it, buddy. Good to see you.
Nighty night.